Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation to participate in this exciting event. As time is short, I will go straight into my brief input. I speak here from a dual position. On the one hand, as a researcher who has been working on the subject for 15 years, seeking to bridge between the global north and the global south. On the other hand, as part of the Eco-Social Pact of the South, which brings together activists from different Latin American countries to offer both a diagnosis of contemporary socio-ecological transformations and political proposals that emphasize the global South's role in this process. I would like to start by saying that in recent years, the socio-ecological transition has moved from being an issue restricted to activist groups and scientists to a central focus of contemporary political and economic agendas. However, two important questions arise here. First, in the face of the urgence of decarbonization, there is a tendency to reduce the socio-ecological transition to the energy transition. The second issue concerns how the socio-ecological transition is carried out and who will pay the costs. The socio-ecological transition, driven mainly by big corporations and governments in the global south towards supposedly clean energy, is increasing pressure on the global south. For China, the US, and Europe to move towards defossilizations, new sacrifice zones are being created in the global peripheries. There are several examples of this dynamic, and we will mention three of them. First, the extraction of cobalt and lithium for the productions of high-tech batteries for electric cars brutally affects the so-called lithium triangle in Latin America, North Africa, or other regions in the world. Second, the growing demand for balsa wood, which is abundant in the Ecuadorian Amazon, for the construction of wind turbines demanded by China and European countries, destroy communities, territories, and biodiversity. Third, the new bidding for mega projects for solar panels and green hydrogen infrastructure further increase land grabbing. Therefore, what hegemonic actors are defining as ecological transition today is seen by many social actors in the global south and critical allies in the global north as green extractivism or climate colonialism. But what does this mean? We are talking about here a new dynamic of capitalist extraction and appropriation of raw materials, natural goods, and labor, especially in the global south for the green transition. I would like to suggest that climate colonialism is the centerpiece of our new capitalist consensus that my colleague Maristela Svamp and I defined as the decarbonization consensus. The decarbonization consensus is a new global agreement that advocates a shift from a fossil fuel-based energy system to a carbon-free or low-carbon one based on renewable energies. Its leitmotif is the struggle against global warming and climate crisis, stimulating energy transition promoted by the electrifications of consumption and digitalizations. This consensus is based on a widely accepted common goal. Who could oppose it, decarbonization and climate neutrality in a world wounded by collapse? The main issue, however, is not what to do, but how to do it. The aims of this hegemonic decarbonization do not include the most relevant transformative agendas, such as the deconcentration of the energy system, care for nature, or global climate justice, but other motivations, such as attracting new financial incentives, reducing the energy dependence of some European countries, expanding market channels, or improving the image of corporations. In other words, decarbonization is not seen as part of a broader process of changing the metabolic profile of society, its patterns of production, consumption, circulation of goods, and waste generation, but as an end in itself. Current policies are not only insufficient, but also have several negative impacts, given that the exploitation of natural resources is intensifying and the ideology of indefinite economic growth is being maintained. So the decarbonization consensus continuously mobilizes the discourse of technological potential and innovation, but at the same time, it explicitly advocates green business, climate finance, nature-based solutions, and different forms of speculative investment. In short, this is a type of transition proposed based on mercantile logic and with a hyper-digitized interface, generating new commodities and sophisticated forms of social and territorial legitimation. So what I would like to say to conclude is that if you really want to think about socio-ecological transitions in global terms, we must take the impacts of our actions on the global south seriously. This also implies two other fundamental issues for our discussion. Firstly, thinking about socio-ecological transformation in holistic and integral terms. And secondly, to reframe the debate in terms of global justice, going beyond strictly local or national visions. Faced with a deep civilizational polycrisis, we must never forget that no one will be saved alone. Thank you very much.